All right. This morning we're joined by quarterback Brandon Preaster, most recently with the South Michigan Apex. I always stutter when I try to say that name for some reason. How you doing this morning?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good, Sam.
I'm glad to have you on. It's been a long time in the works for sure. We've been talking for a long while off camera. It's time we finally got you on here and told a little bit about your story and where you've been, where you're headed, what your plans are for your career. But real quick, I wanted to start with the most obvious, I guess you could say, elephant in the room. In the description, I've mentioned that you are, in your late 30s, trying to play football still. And I wanted you to speak on a little bit about how you prepare yourself at this age and how you continue to, or why you continue to keep pushing, despite the fact that a lot of people have told you you can't do it.
Yeah, it's it's kind of like, I'm uh, I've been in a situation where I really hadn't been able to get the opportunities to really show my talent, show my ability. It started way back when I came out of Pitt. I didn't graduate from Pitt. You know what I mean? I had off-field altercation that took place while I was there my sophomore year, which enabled me from actually playing and down of football in college. Okay. Most people at that time, would have given up then, at 22 or however old I was when that happened. Um, most people would have walked away, given up. But what happened for me was it actually motivated me, inspired me to prove that I could do it, and that I could do it a way that was very unconventional, because of my circumstances. And so, why my why is because I really didn't feel like I still have so much juice in my body because I haven't really been able to use it in my mid 20s, my early 20s. So because of that, I'm much more healthier now. Even though I might have an age, I'm still ageless because I never put an age on how old I am. You know what I mean? I never put an age on anything when it came to football. So what you guys see now, the workouts and stuff that people see now, and how I've been able to actually get better as I've gotten older in terms of my mechanics, in terms of my arm strength, in terms of just my overall game. It's because like I just have a lot of stored energy that wasn't really used because people in the football industry, arena, certain industries kind of blackballed me in a sense where they didn't really allow me to get the shots that I deserved. And so I had to go and go and go to all these different places, semi-pro back in 2011, a bunch of arena leagues throughout the years, throughout about 15-year journey. And, if you watch it, you'll see how what's crazy is I've actually gotten better from 2015 till now. I've evolved. So it's a quarterback. And so with how I do it is just keeping a perspective that it's never too late. You know what I mean? I stay true to my goals. I mean, I feel like haven't been able to accomplish the dream I've set out for. And I have the talent and the ability I always have. But for some reason, I was frowned upon. And so that's my why now is to just keep going to prove them to like shove it in people's face so much that they're like, you know what I mean? Like you just have to see it. And, that's my why. It's never too late.
I love it. I love it. So you talked about evolving as a quarterback over the last couple of years. Who do you train with, and how have you gone about improving as a quarterback?
Well, well, first of all, I was training with, not currently at the moment, but I trained with, and he changed my game a lot. A guy named Andre McCann. He was a trainer at this place called AOS Sports Performance in Mansfield, Texas. And Andre McCann worked with previously before he trained me. He worked with a guy named Mark Clayton. If it sounds familiar, wide receiver Mark Clayton. That was Oklahoma City. Yeah, he played for the Bucks shortly. He played for he played for the Ravens. Not Mike Clayton, Mark Clayton.
There you go. My fault. You're right.
Mark, he was a Sooner, and then he played with the Ravens for most of his career, and then he ended up towards the end he played with the Rams. But when he played with the Rams, he had an injury. He tore his Achilles, I believe. And when he was, he was kind of on the edge about whether he was going to continue his career or not. And he got connected with Andre McCann and his people, the people I'm telling you about, and they got him back on the field. They rehabilitated him, and he ended up playing another 2-3 years. And him and Andre have formed a great relationship. So anyway, I ended up, in 2020. Well, actually, 2019, 2020, I had an injury with the Nebraska Danger. I was out there in the IFL, which was a sprained calf, and so I couldn't complete my season there with them. But I was having a strong campaign at the time, and after that was over, I ended up getting in touch with Andre, and I did some rehab with him. There's actually some video, some clips of the throwing that we did while I was rehabbing my calf. And so, yeah, I worked with him. He worked on my footwork a lot, worked on a lot of my torque in my lower part of my body. If you look at these videos that you have here that we're looking at, that was me probably 11 years ago, probably 50 pounds heavier, no footwork, just showing my arm off. But look at how I looked. You know what I mean? I wasn't like athletic. And so, so Andre, after 2020, he really worked with me with a lot of details, a lot of NFL specific workouts, things of that nature. And I've increased a lot. I've increased a lot of, my quickness is it's better than it's ever been.
Absolutely. I mean, you definitely look like you've lost quite a bit of weight since then. I honestly, I can kind of understand why coaches looked at you the way they did to begin with. But that's just a premise that needs to be removed from people's minds. I don't know what it is, but it seems like as we get further and further from the golden ages of football, in the 70s and 80s, the scouting gets a lot lazier, in my personal opinion. It seems like they're just out to get the guys from the big name schools. The guys that didn't come from the big name schools or had a little bit of a sordid background that just kind of fall through the cracks. And luckily today we have many different leagues that can employ players like yourself that have fallen through those cracks and continue to play football. But it's crazy how it's all evolved over the years.
Yeah,
it used to be Pittsburgh Steelers would draft specifically from small schools because that's where all the talent was back in the day. But things have changed quite a bit.
Yeah, a lot.
But anyway, how long have you been training with Andre? Was that since 2020?
Yeah, that's from 2020. I relocated in 22, so I kind of we still have a good we still connect, we still talk. Every now and then I shoot out there if I need work. Like if I need cab rollouts or if I need something, some type of stretching or whatever it is, Vertimax machines, whatever it is. Like I get, I make my business to contact them and stuff like that. But I haven't been there I don't live there anymore. So
that's completely fair. So we talked about it earlier. The most recent team you've played with is South Michigan Apex, and that was in 2022. What was your experience with the Apex like?
Well, it was actually it was 23. My bad. That was this year. That was in February 23. It was okay. I think that it at that time it was an opportunity for me to kind of I used that as a tool for me to get through camp, get kind of acclimated with the pads again and stuff like that. Just the rigors of a two day of a training camp, a pro training camp. People don't understand. They think, well, it's because it's not NFL or it's not, XFL, USFL that the training camp is easy or it's not that, not that detailed and all that. But no, South Michigan Apex head coach LP Lawrence Peters ran a hell of a training camp. And it was really good for me. It's really good for me to get out there, compete with a lot of the younger guys, to kind of feel the temperature, to see the temperature of what I needed to do to really make this a reality. That's what I kind of looked at it as. It was like kind of gauging, like, okay, is this still, I know it sounds good to be on the field with no defense coming after you, throwing a football 80 yards. But, when it comes down to it, what about, really getting in there, really getting reps, really competing, really getting banged around, stuff like that. How was my body going to respond to that, at this time? So I got out there and I played well. I didn't stay. Again, it's in those leagues. Sometimes it's a financial situation that has nothing to do with my performance at all. But overall, the experience was a positive one. It was one that also, re-innovated the playbooks, being able to, how it is, like getting in there, getting a playbook that's 70 pages, studying and all the things that it takes to really be a good quarterback. I kind of got to kind of re-amp that stuff up in South Michigan. You know what I mean?
That makes perfect sense. And speaking of that side of the game, how has your mental side of the game progressed as you've gained more experience?
Well, the mental side progressed because if you look at my high school highlights, I don't know if you probably haven't seen them, and maybe I should have sent you those as well. But if you looked at that, you see, like I was always naturally talented, right? I always could throw the ball deep. I always had ability to get out of the pocket. I'm not saying I was a scrambler, but I'm more like a balanced quarterback. My natural tendencies were to be balanced. You know what I mean? And so at the time, how I progressed mentally is that now I understand the game so much better. I understand the game so much better from a pocket perspective. I understand the game mentally from a defensive perspective. I understand the game from perspective of how I need to lead my troops, my players around me, receivers and people like that. I understand that perspective better mentally. So how you asked me how? It's just because like over the years of some of those gaps of time where I haven't really played and haven't been in camps and haven't been on the field, I've been studying. You know what I mean? So when other people, like right now, for example, it's football season, people are all excited, eating their chips, drinking beer, watching games, right? But me, I'm not doing that. I'm there. I'm writing things down. I'm not looking at the game as a fan. I'm looking at the game as what am I looking at? What am I gonna do here? What would I do here? What are they doing here? What are they in? You know what I mean? So really I can't even watch my mental thing has changed to the point where I can't really even watch football with people in general because they're more of a general, they look at it from like an outside in perspective. Whereas like they don't know what's going on behind the scenes. They don't understand that part. A lot of people, they just see what's out there. But me, I know kind of what goes on behind the scenes, how people get looked at, how certain things happen, all that. So that's changed my mentality or my mental perspective by just knowing these different experiences, going through different letdowns, right? Ups and downs, a lot of stuff. Being told no, like you said. I've been brought into teams, arena teams, and been offered great opportunities to come play. And I get there, the team's folded, team's not there. I've been homeless behind teams that folded. So mentally, yeah, that things like that, things like team folding on you and coaches not paying you and stuff like that. That kind of sharpened me up mentally to know what to look for and what to deal with, how to deal with it.
I would definitely agree. That's got to be a difficult situation to go through. Unfortunately, we hear about situations like that all too often in arena football.
Right.
Some of these teams just come up and they're gone the next day. It seems like, so hopefully we're getting past some of that and getting to a point where teams are a little bit more stable going forward. But looking back at your career, coming out of college, it was 2008. You went to the NFL Regional Combine and the Elite National Scout Camp. What kind of interest did you receive coming out of that camp?
Well, coming out of that camp, we had the we had about 5 or 6 teams that were interested in my numbers. At that combine, I ran a 4.57. My bench press 225. I don't know if you guys have that information, but I did 225 14 times back then. So my numbers were really good. I threw the football really well, but my Achilles heel, which is still to this day, is kind of hampered me, is not having a lot of game film. And so I didn't have a lot of college film either because I didn't play. So when I got to the combine, our whole plan was like, okay, I'm just gonna have the best numbers here as a quarterback, and someone's gonna have to give me a shot. And so, yeah, we had some teams that we talked with, the Bears, the Eagles, um, Carolina Panthers, um, the New York Giants, of course, the New York Jets, of course, and so and also Cincinnati Bengals. But what it came down to, and these people, I was like looking for agents and kind of reaching out, and then going to like different workouts and trying to get the name out there, trying to get my stuff out there. But again, I didn't have any film. So when it came down to these teams, wanting to bring people to camp and mini camps, stuff like that, at that time, I was always picked. I was never picked because somebody else, maybe he wasn't better than me per se, but he had game film. He did everything that he had to do. Like it fell in line for those people. So I never really got that opportunity. But there was definitely interest in my ability to play.
Absolutely. So you end up in 2010 with the Harrisburg Stampede. How did that opportunity come about? And ultimately, let's talk about your performance: 651 yards, 7 touchdowns, and 1 interception in just 2 games.
Yeah, that was, what's crazy is that was my first. So okay. A lot of people will say, well, that's not NFL, so that doesn't count, right? But in really technically, that was where I got picked up first. That was my first professional contract. And that came from a coach. He still actually came back and was coaching them. A guy named Bernie Novotarski is the head coach of Harrisburg then. And actually, I had went to. So how that happened was I had went to a tryout with the Chicago Rush, right? The old Chicago Rush, and I didn't make it. I went there. I was throwing the football, and I was competing, and they didn't take me, right? And like, but they filmed it. So when they filmed it, I guess they sent the film out to a bunch of different indoor teams, arena teams at the time. And yeah, and I was always able to throw the football. Yeah, I was heavier, but I was always able to throw the football really well. And so Bernie was one of the coaches, I guess, received a film for me at that Chicago Rush workout. So he saw me kind of in an indoor setting with the players. And yeah, then he reached out. We talked a little bit. I asked him for an opportunity. Like I want to, I would love an opportunity to come out there. And we made it happen. They signed me, and yeah, they signed me. I went out there, first pro experience, training camp, living in an apartment with the team, stuff like that. It was excellent. It was awesome. Um, and then they had another quarterback that they brought in, and they had like it was 4 quarterbacks. 2 of them weren't even in the mention, and then it was me and this other guy. I forgot his name, but it was me and this other quarterback that were kind of duking it out throughout training camp. And so the first game of the season, he got in, and like they started him. You know what I'm saying? Like we knew, they were like, well, BP, you did a good job. But again, it was always like the age thing. Even then, it was like we got this guy right out of college. You know what I mean? Just came from South Dakota, wherever he was from. So they actually started him. But then once the games got rolling, he did that first game. He didn't play well. I think he had like 3 picks. He didn't play bad. He didn't play good. So they gave me a shot. Let me go in. I got in. I never stopped. I got in, completing passes. They saw the numbers from the first game. I felt great. So after that being said, second game of the season, I get to start. I'm playing. I play well. We end up winning that game, which was technically my first professional start. And we ended up winning that game. 2 days later, I get released. So again, it was I don't know why exactly. I played well. There was no reason. Like I don't think it was a performance from a performance standpoint. It couldn't have been. But then also they didn't have any game film. So when they released me, like when they let me know that they're releasing me, they couldn't give me any game film for me to take with me or to have of that, which was disappointing to say the least. And so yeah, so that happened. It was a great experience. So I thought at the time, I felt like I played well, felt like everything was going good, but I got released. And then that's how Harrisburg went down.
Crazy. Weird how everything works like that. So in 2011, you end up at the GDFL in the Pittsburgh Storm. You played 8 games, passed for 2,200 yards, 12 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. But ultimately, this team folded. Talk to me about this experience and how frustrating it must have been to get a legitimate chance for you to start all season long, and then the team basically falls out from underneath you.
Man, you know that you talk about the Pittsburgh Storm situation. That was one of the. I'm gonna tell you right now. That is to this day was the worst situation that ever happened to me. Football. That was the lesson I learned at that time. That kind of catapulted me, not catapulted me, but guided me throughout the rest of my journey of watching out for things like that. Because, so all right, I'll tell you what happened. So I was at Harrisburg. I was still on the grounds of Harrisburg, right, at the hotel. Now I had a couple of days or whatever to figure out, like, what my next step was, and if I was gonna go to another team, what have you. So we're reaching out to teams. This guy calls me out of the blue. This guy named Mike Benner. We need to find that guy. But anyway, this guy named Mike Benner calls me, and he's like, "Hey, what's going on, BP?" Like, he knew my name and everything. And he was like, I heard what happened. I heard you have a hell of an arm. I heard you can really throw the football. I want to offer you an opportunity. I said, "What's up, man?" Because obviously I wanted to, I needed somewhere to play. I wanted to play. So I was like, you catch somebody in that point, they're like, "Yeah, whatever. Like, I can come there and play?" It's like, okay. So he's like, "Yeah, I offer you X amount of dollars." It wasn't professional. It was semi-pro. So I had my, like, slight apprehension about that. But at that time, I was like, well, I need to do whatever I need to do to get film. So if I have to play there and you're going to pay me, I'll come out there. You know what I mean? To stay active, even if it's semi-pro. If you're going to pay me, I'll play. So we agreed to that. It was in a place called Newcastle, Pennsylvania. Are you familiar with that? Newcastle?
I say that I am.
Huh? No. Okay.
No.
Good. That's a good thing. So it's a great thing, actually, because Newcastle is not a place you want to be at, especially not stranded with nothing. But anyway, so he promised me this offer that he was going to pay me each game. When I first got there to Newcastle, he picks me up. So he was a bunch of lies. That's all. It was a whole bunch of lies. Lied about everything. I got there. He lives in a trailer. You know what I mean? Told me he was going to house me. I was going to be housed in the Hampton Inn, and all this other crap, man. And so me being eager to play so bad, I did it, and I went out there. Let's just keep it short, man. I didn't get paid for any of the games that I played for them. There was always a promise of, you'll get the money. I continued to stay there because, again, I wanted to play. I wanted to get on the field so bad, which I did. I played, how many games did it say I played with them? 6 or 8?
8.
8 games, right? I played 8 games with them. 6 of them were filmed. I had to scratch and claw to get, because that was the main thing for me, to get film, game film of me in the game. Even if at that time it was semi-pro, but if I was dominating and they could see my ability, it could still work. Could have worked. So I played 6 games for nothing. I played 6 games for no money. They did all the film on disc. That's back when they still used to do DVDs, right? It seems so ancient, but it really wasn't. So they did the film on DVDs. They gave me some copies, but they were all of different games. So in other words, I had to make multiple copies of these games to send out to coaches, right? To scouts. After Mike didn't pay me, after I had to leave, I was stranded. I was actually staying with a player that lived in the area, and they lived in a terrible area. It was a ghetto. All right. I learned a lot of street stuff, a lot of things that had nothing to do with football at the time because of that. But it made me stronger. You know what I mean? Like I said, it was a learning experience, of course. of things that I faced later on in my life, in my career, in my journey, I should say. But anyway, that experience was terrible. It was a terrible experience. I played really well, never got filmed, never seen the film again in my life. Because I asked him to make copies. He takes the film, end up never getting the film back. It was a big waste of time.
Crazy.
Very tough. Very tough experience. I had to go home. Hey, I had to go home. Talk at the time. My daughter's mother. My daughter was a little baby then. She was like 1 or 2, very young, and I had to go home and tell her mother that I didn't get anything. I didn't get paid. I didn't. It was like I was gone for 5 months for nothing.
No doubt. That's got to be tough. So in 2014, you spent some time in the Chicago Blitz, mainly in training camp, and then you end up with in 2015 with the Marlin Blue Racers, another great season. Maryland?
Yeah, Maryland.
Sorry. Mm-hmm. Played 6 games, passed for 1,844 yards, 22 touchdowns. You also earned Comeback Player of the Year award, and this was under Rick Krantz, so that's a name that a lot of people should know. How was this experience for you? It seemed like you finally got some footing under you there.
Well, Coach was the.
Give us just a second. It looks like Brandon accidentally closed out the StreamYard, and we will get it back as soon as possible. With that in mind, here is a little bit more information about what we do here.
This is Brett, and you're watching Shady Sports Network. Tune in, hit that like button.
You might wonder, what do these guys do? Player signing announcements. I never in a million years thought you would actually come on to break this news. So without further ado, go ahead and tell everybody what happened today.
Yeah, man. I just had to work out with the Cincinnati Bengals. Signing me right out.
Without further ado, I'd like to announce that, I'll be taking my talents to Salina Liberty.
This just in. The Major League of Football is reportedly collapsing, unable to pay hotel room bills, with players being kicked out of their rooms and hotel managers asking them to leave voluntarily without issue.
And then we got Lions wide receiver Williams is debuting this week as a starter. That's something to look at as far as the eye test goes. And then another one on the eye test is Mostert might be coming back to Miami. And we can see if he has a role in this offense and see if he can be viable for the next couple weeks coming and help us in the playoffs and possibly towards a championship. That would be very nice because he's sitting on my bench right now.
All right, we are back with Brandon. Had a little technical difficulty there, so luckily we got some commercials uploaded that I can just pop on real quick. So Brandon, you were saying about your time with the Marion Blue Racers. You're muted, buddy. Okay, we lost him again. We will get him right back, and then hopefully we can continue this conversation about the Marion Blue Racers. In the meantime, here's a little snippet from one of our other shows. Oh, never mind. Hold on. There we go. We got you back. You're unmuted. So if you just want to pick up where you left off with the Marion Blue Racers.
I'm hearing stuff in the background. I'm not sure why it's doing that.
Are you talking about my background?
I mean, I can hear you, but I can hear something else. Someone like video in the background.
It's probably just something in my house, man. To be quite honest.
All right. But now, so you can hear me now? Can you hear me? What's wrong with my service, dog?
Yes, I can hear you.
So yeah, so with the Marion thing was the program was ran really well with them. Again, it was an opportunity. I appreciated Coach Krantz. You know, he really he truly gave me a true fair opportunity. You know what I was looking for, and yeah, I mean that was one of the best indoor experiences that I had in terms of being able to compete, to go through a camp, to actually play some games, to just to get familiar with the indoor game. You know what I'm saying at that time, and the guys that he had around and the way it was set up was very professional. And yeah, I mean, Marion was a great experience.
Absolutely. Can you tilt your camera up just a tad? Just looking at like your chest.
Not bad.
No,
Is that
you're
better?
yeah, much better. There we go. So fast forward a little bit, and you end up with the Nebraska Danger in the IFL in 2019, where you actually competed with a very recognizable name on this channel, Tommy Armstrong, and you ended up being the starter leading into the first preseason game. So with that being said, I'm very curious to hear about your time with Nebraska at that time.
Yeah, that shit was age. I mean, I don't mean to curse. I mean, it was crazy. Everything was crazy. I mean, the way it happened. I get a call from I got a call from this guy, man, this older person that was like a football guy. You know how those people on Facebook, the arena websites or whatever. And I put up a video of me in 2016 throwing the football with the Giants uniform on, Giant shirt on, and he's seen it. He was like, "Hey, my nephew has a team. He needs a quarterback." So I'm like, "All right, what is it?" I'm thinking it's like. So he's like, "It's the Nebraska Danger." I'm like, "Oh, okay." So anyway, they signed me. Coach Pig signed me. They called me, talked, signed the contract. When I got out there, I was the oldest guy on the team. I was the oldest player on the team. I was older than the coaches. I was older than everybody on the staff. Seriously, I was 34. I think Pig was like 33. I think Sewell was like 33. I think the D-line coach was like 32, 33 at the time. So literally, I was the oldest guy on the team. So they automatically put me in charge of the team van. So I had the responsibility of taking all the younger players, all the other players, their appointments every day. If they had to get job, if they had interviews or they had stuff they had to do, their physicals and stuff like that, I was actually in charge of carting them around in this team van to Nebraska Danger. Yeah. So anyway, so how it was there was, so how it happened was we had a training camp we were battling. Me and Tommy were battling. And how everybody saw it was that, yes, Tommy was slightly more agile than I was at the time, of course. He was like 25, and I was 34. But the gesture of it was that I was a much better passer than he was in terms of from the pocket and in terms of being more accurate. And that he was more athletic a little bit, but then also he was a Nebraska kid. Tommy played for the Cornhuskers. I came all the way from Jersey. You know what I mean? So he was basically in his hometown. And so the owner, Bosselman, Charlie Bosselman, he came to practice one day, right? While in camp, while camp was going on. And he came to the practice, and we're practicing. We're like doing one-on-ones or whatever. And he's off to the side. I didn't even know who he was at the time. And we seen as we're practicing, we see him talking, and he sees me and Tommy throwing. He sees me throwing and completing passes. I mean, left and right. And then he sees Tommy, missing a couple. And he's talking to somebody over there, and he starts shaking his head, like, no. So what happened was he was really supposed to be the starter. He was supposed to be the number one guy. They thought that, well, because I was older, he was from Nebraska and all that he was going to come in and blow me out the water. But it actually didn't happen. I went in there. I competed, actually battled them out the first week. And Yeah, I mean, it was because at that time passing, we were trying to. I was trying to show him, like, and sometimes, just like I tell these young quarterbacks now, sometimes you gotta get rid of the ball. You know what I mean? You can't always try to maneuver every single time. So that was the differences between him and I, where he would try to kind of like create more with his legs, but not be as accurate. Therefore, I would be in the pocket though and get rid of the ball quicker. And so that being said, I ended up getting able to start over him, and it was a tough. It was a good journey for me, but it was tough. It ended tough, but it was a good journey. I was able to really compete. I had some good competition, some games against Green Bay Blizzard out there, and couple Iowa Barnstormers and teams like that I competed against. And at that time, I really felt like that was going to be the opportunity I needed to get some real good game film. You know what I mean? To get in a real pro system, because everything there was like really like professional. Seriously, that was like the NFL, but just arena. You know what I mean? So it was a good experience. It sucks that I got hurt. That's kind of what ended it, was the calf tear. But overall, yeah, I mean, we battled out, had fun. Like, Nebraska was fun as hell. The coaches were cool. Coach Pig was cool. Yeah, it was a good experience.
Absolutely. I mean, I've heard a lot of great things about Nebraska. It makes sense that it was like an NFL environment, given the fact that, they had some NFL experience on that staff and on that team as well. So definitely makes sense. So fast forward a couple seasons, here we are in 2023. You're still trying to play football. Who have you talked to so far this season that you think you might end up with?
Well, it's been a handful of people. I've been trying to like, I stopped working with a certain, I'm not going to put names out there, but I've been working with certain representation. Some things changed with that from 2020, I would say 2021 to the end of 2022 or early 2023 when I went to South Michigan, I mean. So I was working with somebody that stopped. And so now I kind of picked the ball up on my own in the meantime, because I'm trying to, get a legitimate shot. You know what I mean? A very legitimate shot, something that, a tangible opportunity. You know what I mean? Not one of these like, flaky indoor teams or leagues or anything like that. I've been there, done that. You know what I mean? I've been there, I've been around it. I know how it could be. And at this time, I don't like to put my age out there, but at this time, I don't really have time to take losses like that, right? To go out and end up homeless or anything like that now. So, who I've talked to, like I've had some talks with San Antonio Brahmas, XFL, guy named Jose Jefferson was kind enough to take some information from me. Trying to work on Iowa Rampage. For like, they're going to be in the AFL. I haven't seen any quarterbacks that they've signed yet. I've talked with them. Greg Ulrich, one of the guys there. I've been, connecting with him on LinkedIn, sending him films, sending the coach stuff. Who else? The Las Vegas Knights. A lot of the IFL guys. Even Orlando Predators. Coach, what's his name? Coach Manuel Marcus. I don't know if you probably do know who I'm talking about, but Coach Manuel, he's a coach with them, and he does a lot of I've talked to him a few times about possibly getting out there, but I haven't talked to anybody in terms right yet for 23. I haven't talked to anybody yet in terms of signing me, but I did get in touch with Coach Menas or Coach Menace. He's the man. Yeah. He reached out, he hit me up not too long ago, like 2 weeks ago, and I couldn't believe it, man. I was like honored, you know what I mean, in a way. I mean, these guys he's won championships at that level, you know what I mean? And so for him to reach out and and give me his feedback on what he saw, what he felt, and then also not only that, but to offer me an opportunity to work with the agent that he works with.
There you go. That's awesome. Coach Manas is a stand-up guy. I mean, I will sing his praises every chance I get. He's been on this channel multiple times. I'm sure he'll be back in the future. Great coach. So with all that being said, obviously we've covered quite a bit of your career so far, and we talked about the fact that you've been playing for a while. How many more years do you have in you?
I mean, I'm X amount of years old right now. So I mean, I don't have an age. So I'm ageless. I don't have an age. I'm 38. I mean, I'm not Aaron Rodgers, but Aaron Rodgers is 39. So I mean, I'm much younger than he is because I haven't took the toll and the wear and tear that he has. So if you're looking at it, I mean, it makes more sense, right? I'm 38, but I didn't play in my 20s at all, really. And not long enough and not long and not consistently, right? So, sort of wear and tear on my body at this point isn't the same as the average 38-year-old is. So where people hear the number 38, they're like, oh man. But in reality, because I haven't really been banged around for years, I'm actually like I'm 27 physically. So I feel like if I get in right now, like I'm ready now. I probably wasn't ready 3 months ago. I may not be ready 6 months from now, but right now I'm ready. And the longer people wait, the longer people say, oh, I can't do it because he's too old. But how are you ever going to let me play? If you never give me a shot, then I'm not going to be able to play, right? So what are you losing? You're bringing me in. I'm better than half the quarterbacks you guys have, whether they're older or younger. I mean, you're not really losing anything. You're dealing with somebody who's a one-of-a-kind type of person, one-of-a-kind type of athlete. If you could find another 38-year-old that can do what I'm doing, that's not in the NFL already, show me him. Bring it to my attention. Show me a guy that's 27, 28 that can compete with me throwing-wise, movement-wise. You know what I mean? And I know a lot of people. A lot of people know of me, and I don't know anybody that can compete with me at quarterback. That's not in the NFL. That's not already there. The guys on the street, free agent guys. I don't know what the indoor people. I don't know what these scouts are really looking at. Because if it's age, they're looking in the wrong place.
That's definitely a qualifier for sure, especially at this level for sure. Well, Brandon, I really appreciate your time, man. It sounds like you got some kids you need to get to, so I will let you have the rest of your day to yourself. I really appreciate you coming on and telling us about your story. But it's been awesome learning more about you off camera. We'll definitely have to have you back in the future, hopefully when you sign your next contract.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate you letting me be on here and share a little bit about myself.
Absolutely. Cool. Have a great rest of your day, and like I said, stay in touch. We'll get you back on here as soon as you end up on a team, or really just to have another chop up session.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. That'll be dope.
Sounds good. Have a good day, man.
I'm a game changer.